Thank you, Chris. I appreciate your time. Chris is a coach of the reigning African Games gold medalist in the men's high jump, Cadman Evans Yamoah. He was able to clear a height of 2.23 meters in the African Games at the Legon Stadium. Just before his very own crowd, he was able to fly high like an eagle to win a gold medal for us. But please, just give us an idea of what went behind the scenes to secure this gold medal for Cadman.
I think it goes back 15, 18 months ago when we first actually met each other. He reached out to us, to our university via email, and we started correspondence. And he sent some videos of himself jumping. And initially it began with me just giving some feedback on his jumps and how he could improve. And those conversations just moved into finding an opportunity to get him over here to train with us and compete for our university. And ever since he arrived, it's just been this incredible journey. Growing every single competition, every single meet for the last 2 years. I talk about lots of little victories. And we've still got a lot of room to improve moving forward, but it's been a long process. And I think the African Games this past week, what we saw out there was a combination of all his experience, his training, his energy. Everything came together in this one beautiful competition, and myself and 12,000 other Ghanaian supporters got to see kind of the fruits of his work.
And briefly, how would you describe his journey?
It's obviously, before he came over, he was a very talented high jumper and a very talented athlete, but I could tell immediately there was a few technical things that we needed to kind of fix kind of right away. And when we addressed those in the first few weeks and we kind of learned to understand how to execute them, he started just progressing at this phenomenal rate. He jumped 2:14 at his first competition here to break the Ghana indoor national record. Next meet, he jumped 2:18. Next meet, he jumped 2:20. And I'm like, what is going on? I was like, this is ridiculous. And he's an incredible athlete, but what we still need to develop is consistency. And that is what he has done so well this past season. He is more consistent with his run. He is more consistent with his takeoffs. And with consistency brings big jumps, and that we can trust what we do. And we don't really have to think about the technical things of competition. All he has to do is go out and compete and be an absolute competitor. And that is what we saw at the African Games.
And just how much of a potential have you seen in Cadman?
This past or just across his career so far?
In fact, I was having a conversation with him after he cleared that 2.23 meters, and okay. I spoke about the likes of passion, and he said he doesn't care about names. What he cares is that you need to put in the hard work. And having worked closely with him, what sort of an athlete is Cadman?
He is very humble. He believes in himself. He's humble, but he believes in himself a lot, and he's really confident that in whatever he does, he is going to do his best, and he's going to be the best. And I think that's what sets him aside from a lot of other athletes, is that he'll go into any competition and he has that desire to win, and he has that belief that he is going to beat everyone. Whether that happens or not, he still has that deep inside of him. And I can't teach that as a coach. That's something that he has developed over time, growing up in Ghana, playing football, playing volleyball, playing intra-hall sports with the Commonwealth boys. Like, all that has shaped him to an athlete he is now. And that is why I think his potential is going to be so high, because we can still improve technically, we can still improve physiologically. But what will carry him through his career and why he is going to be so good is because he is the best competitor I've ever met.
That's quite interesting to hear. That's quite interesting to hear. But I was asking the question earlier about the kind of potential he's got. Many people will tell you that it is the attitude that you must have first. The talent can always be developed, but when you have the right attitude, you're able to achieve the goals and objectives that you have. Working with him, what sort of attitude does he have, and just how far do you think he can go in his shooting field?
So what I think he has more to improve, like where can he improve the best and why his potential is really high? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, please, exactly.
I think looking forward, let's say competition route, there, I always say at once it was kind of far-fetched dreams of what we think could be a possibility in life. After this competition now becomes very much tangible and realistic, that trying to maybe qualify for the Olympics 2-3 months ago was, oh, this would be nice, but we're just gonna keep jumping and just see what happens. But now this is very much a achievable goal. And if we do the right things and we plan correctly and we stay healthy and keep jumping high, there's very much chance that we can be at that stadium in July, August of 24 out in Paris and compete there. But what I love and I try to teach to all of our kids here at the University of Central Missouri is body language. I was like, we could be the best, we might not be the best, but how we conduct ourselves in the area of competition, how we conduct ourselves in practice goes a long way. And it starts with body language. And what Cadman does very well, and what I've tried to use him as a role model, is he's always happy, he's always bubbly, always confident. And that's infectious, not just for yourself, but for your teammates. And if your whole team brings that energy and that body language of, we are here, we are confident, we're going to do great, that also gives you a competitive advantage over your competitors. And Cadman is a prime example of that. We watched him walk around with a big smile on his face during warm-ups, during competition, just soaking in the atmosphere. When it came to jump, he was very quiet. He wanted to listen to his body first, listen to his mind, visualize what he's doing, and then get the support of everyone. So he does a great job of balancing those energies and those moments where he wants to have the support, but also needs to listen to his thoughts. But his potential is so high because we have only just scratched the surface in the 15 months we've been together. And still being a young man, we have a long career ahead of us. And so it doesn't have to be just this Olympic cycle. We still have 4 more years to build to that. You've got the World Champs, Commonwealth Games in 2026. There are so many great opportunities that has now presented itself because of how well he not only jumped, but he conducted himself at these championships. The lives that he's affected, the people he's influenced, what he's given back to the community of Accra, that is why he's going to be a phenomenal athlete in the future and a person, and why everyone wants to support him and see him do really well.
After winning that gold medal in the African Games, have you had a conversation with him, and what has he been saying? What does it mean to him?
Like what winning means to him?
Exactly. What does it mean to him?
I think in the immediate aftermath, out of anything he wanted to do, he wanted to spend time with his family. And moving away from Ghana for the last 2 years, I was like, that's the most important thing. And I think that spoke volumes to him, that he wanted to be with the people that he loves and who loves him, which was awesome. I let him enjoy his time. And when we got on the plane to come home, and I could tell he was very tired. I was like, he pushed himself to the absolute limit. It was a long 12 days of preparation that he had in Ghana. And it was very much a business trip, that every morning we wake up, we're going to training, do some rehab, do all the right things. We eat, we get out of the sun, we relax, we lie down. Every day was in preparation for that competition. He could have gone out and enjoyed being home and saw lots of friends and did these things, but we went there for a job, and that job was to jump high and win. And he did that. And for that, I'm incredibly proud. But on that trip home, we started to have those conversations moving forward of, like what this now allows you to do as an athlete in track and field, and the opportunities that could present themselves. And so now kind of our focus might need to change. Instead of moving into the competitive collegiate season in the US, we need to be strategic with where we compete. Instead of competitions of earning extra ranking points to boost our position to qualify for Paris Olympics. And so that's kind of the conversations that we had. But day one, after he won that gold, we kind of looked at each other and said, all right, we need to start recovering. We need to reset. We go again. It's an incredible moment to win, and we're going to celebrate it for a long time, but we want to be better. And so that next day we start rehab. We start looking after our bodies. We start doing all the right things to build to our next competition. We can always be better. So, but we're going to savor this moment for as long as we can, because that was one of the greatest moments in track and field I've ever witnessed in person.
Wow, that's quite interesting to hear. That's quite an interesting one to hear. Just tell me, you talk about Olympic Games, you talk about Commonwealth Games. These are stages that you're going to have the likes of Tamberry, the likes of Bashim, and all out there competing in the men's high jump and all that. Cadman, like you mentioned, is quite a young man who still have lots to do in his young career. But look at the vision that you've all got. What sort of a challenge does it pose to him in terms of where you want to reach?
I think the first step in taking these next big leaps and bounds into that next kind of stratosphere of track and field is we want to qualify for these competitions. We want to be jumping with the best of the best. And once you qualify for your first major competition, obviously you want to do well, but it's all about experiencing it. You want to experience the environment, how the village flows, how warm-ups are conducted, the process of the competition, being amongst some of the best in the world. And that's kind of always my goal. We want to qualify for these competitions, and we want to go experience it and learn from it, so that the next time we go and qualify, we are ready to go compete and go for gold. Not that we wouldn't in the first case, but everything comes with a learning opportunity. And that's kind of my goal right now. If we can fight for that qualification to go to the Paris Olympics and get that bid, we're going to try jump as high as we can and do the best that we can. But I want him to soak up that experience and learn as much as he can, because that's going to set the tone for the next 4, 6, 8 years of his career. Those lessons he will learn and those times will carry him forever. Same as the African Games, there is lessons that he learned this weekend that are going to be super valuable moving forward. Even if it's a really small competition, every time we compete, we learn something new. And so our goal right now is to get our foot in the door. If we can get our foot in the door to some major competitions overseas and local and get his name out there, I feel really good for the years to come that we will keep progressing, and we're going to get to these big competitions where we're going to compete with the best and try to beat the best, because we want to be the greatest.
You want to be the best, and this win was definitely the stepping stone and a motivation towards that, isn't it?
I think it's a big belief that we had the confidence we wanted to go win it, but now that he's done it, it kind of just reiterates and reinforces that I am that good, that I can go to these competitions and compete with athletes that are better than me, because it all happens on the day. And that is what sets him aside from others, that he never disappoints at the greatest and biggest competitions. He has always performed well, and that's why he's the best competitor. So I have faith that if we make it into these competitions, whether that's locally, internationally, at the world stage, that he is going to compete very well. He thrives off the energy. He thrives off these big, high-pressure opportunities. And that's why I have so much joy coaching him. As much as I'm nervous in the grandstands, making sure that we're executing things technically, I am just enjoying the show. I am there as a fan like 12,000 other Ghanaians in that stadium.
Incredible stuff. Chris, it's been nice speaking to you. Just how much of an influence does Cristiano Ronaldo have on Cadman?
Who?
Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Because I remember when he did that.
I didn't really understand. Like, I didn't realize he was that big of an influence and a motivator. Obviously, I'm a huge football fan, and that's what I loved the most when I was in Ghana, that everyone was wearing football shirts, whether it was a Manchester United, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Barcelona. I grew up loving football, and so that was the best medium for me to interact with people over there and make conversation. And Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the biggest sports personalities in the world, and everyone knows the celebration. I did not expect Cadman to pull that out and do it in that moment, and for the whole stadium to erupt with him. I guess we don't talk much about that, of like who's your idols, who inspires you. We always talk about football, but that's, I don't know. I think in the moment things just happen, and what we saw is kind of just what comes out of him. But just to hear that whole stadium support him as if they did Cristiano Ronaldo is phenomenal. But that's the influence that Cristiano Ronaldo has on people, and I think that's the influence that Cadman will have on this next generation of track and field athletes, or track and field in Africa. You need personalities that liven up the sport, that want to make people come watch. And I think he can be that next person for definitely track and field in Ghana, but track and field in Africa and maybe around the world. He just brings a different energy to the competition that can be missing in our sport.
Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.